Hello everybody and welcome along to a brand new video where today I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts on 5 things I think Doctor Who needs to avoid in Series 12. Of course, a few weeks ago I gave you my 5 things I want to see from Series 12, but there's not all things good in regards to Series 12, so I thought it'd be good to do a sort of follow-up video where I'm just going to give you guys a few thoughts on things that either really shouldn't happen or really need to be changed for the better. Okay, so number 1 is to a degree a sort of reversal of what I talked about in my 5 things I wanted to see in Series 12 video, where I said I wanted to see some more episodes written by guest writers. But my thing to avoid is having loads of stories written by Mr. Chris Chibnall, because we all know Mr. Chris Chibnall didn't exactly do the greatest of job with his scripts for Series 11 rather. I don't think they were necessarily as awful as everybody else thinks they were, but they were hardly the strength of the series. So I don't think it would make sense for Chris to put that sort of strain on himself again of having to write 5 or 6 of the episodes, because he did write, well, he wrote or co-wrote the first 5 episodes, and also wrote the finale. So he wrote 5 and was involved in a 6th, plus the resolution special, that's 7. Like, it's a bit of a mammoth workload to try and do 7 Doctor Who stories out of 11 and write all of those and make them all decent. Like, that's unlikely to happen, so it makes more sense for him to pull the reins in a little bit and only do the episode 1 and the finale or something like that, and maybe 1 in the middle. If there's a special, maybe do that, but I think he needs to just take a slight step back and have more of an oversee of the whole series than try to write lots of individual episodes, because it showed in Series 11 that it just doesn't really work. I'm not necessarily saying he is a fundamentally bad writer. I don't think we can fully judge him on the basis of Series 11, and I thought Resolution was definitely an improvement on that, so it looked like, apart from the Battle of Ranskorav Kolos, that it was going in the right direction. But I hope that that is able to develop in Series 12, and so I still am willing to, for now, to give him the benefits of the doubt. Shall we say, if Series 12 is terrible, then I'm happy to say that Chris is a rubbish writer, it was terrible for Doctor Who, and all that. But I'm willing to wait until then to sort of give my full opinion on his attempts at Doctor Who as a show. But I do just think Series 12 would be helped if Chris wrote less of the stories. So basically, we want to avoid Chris Chibnall Doctor Who stories. Now, another thing I think it's important to avoid is for the show to continue being so disconnected from the past. So in Series 11, there was a huge lack of anything referential to the past eras of Doctor Who, the past series, Doctors, companions, monsters, anything. Of course, we saw a Dalek and Resolution, absolutely, that was good, that was in the right direction. But it felt like they were almost barely willing to chuck in a reference, just an off-the-cuff sort of funny line on a classic episode, and it's like, that's not really what Doctor Who has become about. I know maybe some people disagree, some people feel that it should be a show that's moving forward and onwards and everything like that, and I can completely understand that viewpoint. But for me, I feel it's quite important that a show that's been going for 55 years should not just ignore 55 years of its past. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. That you'd run it for this long and then forget about everything that's happened up to now. Like, that just doesn't seem the way forward to go about it. So I really just hope that they avoid continuing in this path they've been going now for Series 11, where it's a new era, it's a new Doctor, it's a new showrunner, therefore we have to focus purely on the new and the future and everything like that, and forget the past because it didn't happen, basically. It's all just new from here on in. And I don't think that's the way to do it. So I do hope that we see a couple more classic villains or returning anything in this series, and just more of a connection, like go to a planet that was in a past series or something like that, where it's just that kind of, it's not a fully massive part of the story, but it's just a bit more involved in connecting it to the past than Series 11 was, because I think that was one of the big letdowns of Series 11 was it was just, as much as I wanted the show to be fresh and new and everything like that, if you're just going to introduce Tim Shaw and racist dudes and whatnot into Doctor Who as the villains of the series, you can't not have the classic ones. If you're going to do that, you need to have very strong new villains, and that didn't happen. Therefore, the classics were really, really missing, I think. So I hope that that is avoided and is rectified for Series 12, in that there's just a bit of, I don't mean a new classic villain every episode, just a bit more of a stronger connection through the whole series would be, I think, make a big difference. Now, this is an interesting one that I want to avoid, because this is mainly because I've seen a few rumours just hinting about a little bit of it being a possibility, was the idea of shortening the series once again, which, well, we have gradually worked our way through New Who and gradually lost episodes in series, going from the first, well, officially 5 series, I guess, having 13 episodes, then split 13 episodes for Series 6 and 7, Then we lost an episode down to 12 for series 8, 9 and 10. And then we lost 2 more episodes down to 10 episodes in a series for series 11. Of course, they tried to compensate the series 11 change by saying, but the episodes are longer. Well, they're 4 to 5 minutes longer, so that really doesn't gain back the 2 episodes that you've lost over the course of a series. So I've just seen rumours that they might try and drop it down to even 8 or possibly even 6 episodes for series 12, which I would have personally been really, really disappointed about. The show doesn't need to cut its length, it just needs to improve what is there already. So 10 episodes, oh look how amazing Doctor Who did with 13 45-minute episodes through series 1 to 5. Most of those series are very, very fondly remembered, with lots of good episodes throughout it. Yes, there's an element of the idea of if you shorten the series, you lose the filler mid-series episodes that we used to see in some of those early series. You think of Love and Monsters or Fear Her. And just some of those mid-series episodes that are a bit forgettable because it's such a long series and there's kind of lots of more exciting ones around it. But then that argument falls apart in series 11 because every single episode is a filler episode and it all doesn't feel very good. And so they haven't eliminated that at all. So I really, really hope that we don't go down the route of shortening the series anymore. I could, to some degree, understand it if we were going to cut it down to 60-minute episodes, or bring it up rather to 60-minute episodes and say, have 8 times 60-minute episodes. That maybe would work. I would maybe be on board with that, because then you've got a proper long runtime to be able to really flesh out a story. Then you don't really need 2-parters so much, because they are long enough to fill a whole story into one episode, and maybe just helps to expand on some of the stories, build up the worlds a bit more and everything like that. So it's interesting that we haven't heard any word at all on the format of the series, given that really that was one of the first things that was confirmed about Series 11 after Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. We got Jodie as the Doctor announced in, I think, July 2017. Then in October 2017 was when we got, well, all the companions announced, but at the same time we also got the format for the series, which was 10 times 50-minute episodes. So that was announced before filming even began. That was just fairly clear. And they didn't sort of hide behind that to a degree and keep it quiet. So it's intriguing that filming has already been going, say, 4 or 5 months, something like that. And we have heard nothing about the format of the series, whether it's going to still be 10 episodes, how long are those episodes going to be. Does that suggest that they're going to have less? I mean, I think we can't expect more. Realistically, they're not going to suddenly decide, oh, I know what's a good idea, let's add another 3 more episodes and give them more money. That's not going to happen, unfortunately. As much as we might love it too, it's not going to happen. So I'm hoping that really it just sticks at that 10-episode series, because I think written in the right way, 10 episodes can work very, very effectively. It's still a lot longer than most dramas. A standard drama in the UK is 6 episodes or maybe 8 episodes. Certainly dramas don't tend to hit 10 episodes. They do on Netflix, but not on terrestrial TV in the UK. So I'm quite pleased that we're still hanging out at that higher bar in terms of the episode number. I just hope that is continued over to series 12, because I think it would let the series down a bit if we just keep kind of squashing it down and down and down and down and down. Before you know it, we won't have any episodes at all. Now, another thing I want to see Doctor Who Series 12 avoid is what became a fundamental problem in Series 11, and that was underusing companions in Doctor Who. Because we saw, I think, the clearest example of that throughout Series 11, where there were 3 companions, and in particular, it's always talked about as Yaz had nothing to do, didn't really develop as a character at all, just wasn't really involved in a lot of the stories because there just wasn't enough story to write for 3 separate companions. I've talked about this in a video before in the 3 companions conundrum video, so if you haven't seen it, go check that out, where I give a more detailed breakdown of why the 3 companions just didn't work as a concept. And so I think that's something that's very important for them to avoid going forward in Series 12. You can't just have a character that turns up on screen and does nothing every single week for 10 weeks. It's just a waste of time and money and effort and everything. And I think that's, unfortunately, to a degree, I think the problem with having 3 companions in Doctor Who, having 4 main characters, is very, very difficult when the episodes are only 50 minutes long and there's only 10 of them. It's just that's not easy to have enough runtime to be able to give all of the main characters enough stuff to do to make them involved and make them develop through the series as characters. So my previous suggestion was to try and rotate the companions to a degree and not have all 3 of them in every single episode. We don't need that. Why do we need to have Yaz, Ryan and Graham in every single episode? It's just not needed. Have an episode with just the Doctor and Graham, or the Doctor and Yaz, or the Doctor, Ryan and Yaz, or just the Doctor, Graham and Ryan. There's lots of different combinations which could build up really interesting relationships, because you look at it For example, Yaz and Graham barely had any dialogue throughout Series 11. I think maybe a little bit in Teams of the Punjab, but I certainly don't remember many scenes where they sat down together on their own and had a chat. So you put the two of them together as a TARDIS team with the Doctor for an episode, and then they'll build up their character relationships a lot better. So I just feel like that might be a possible solution to that problem, because I think it needs to change in this series. And I think at least Chris Chibnall does seem to understand that. He sort of did acknowledge, I think in the press screening for Resolution, I believe, he said a few comments about going to give Yaz a lot more to do in the next series, explore the whole police officer thing a bit more, because we basically completely forgot she was a police officer through the series, because it's in the first episode and not even referenced again pretty much throughout the rest of the series, which is a bit of a shame. But at least, as I say, it sounds like Chris knows that's an issue, because that's the thing that kind of worries me with some of Series 11, is I worry that either he thinks or people are telling him that Series 11 was great, he did a great job, and just do the same thing again and you'll get loads more critical success, because it wasn't true. Yes, Episode 1, The One Who Fell to Earth, did great, absolutely amazing, the figures were incredible, but after that it went down, 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 down. And I think it's fair to say, in general fan opinion, it was not the strongest of series. I'm not one who wants to jump on the absolute bandwagon and say that Series 11 and Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker have killed Doctor Who forever, because that's not true. But there is no denying that Series 11 was one of the weaker series, and ultimately, maybe even if it started off quite well, was not a massive success, and that I don't think you can get away with doing another series exactly the same for Series 12. It needs to be changed up, it needs to be improved, it needs to have more of an arc, as I've said in the previous video. There's a lot of things that need to change to make Series 12 more of a success, so I just hope that Chris has been over these last few months fully aware of that, and is willing to take that feedback on board and willing to change things, and not just kind of stick in his ways of, yeah, well, look at Episode 1, that got 10 and nearly 11 million views, so I'm doing a great job, let's just carry on how we are, guys. I hope he doesn't have that attitude, but I've got no idea, I've got no inside information. I just, yeah, as I say, hope that isn't the case, because otherwise Series 12 could be rather a disappointment. And so my fifth and final thing for this video of things I want to see avoided in Series 12 of Doctor Who is basically doing again what they did in Series 11 and trying to tell 10 individual stories that felt completely disconnected from each other, and just sort of became too, there was nothing building up through the series. I said a little bit of this in my Things I Want to See video, and about the idea of introducing more of an arc. I think that's very, very important. But I think it's also important on that side of not just focusing on telling 10 individual stories that are disconnected from each other, because as soon as you do that, you lose any sort of momentum that's built up in the series. You take away the must-watch sort of feature of Doctor Who. If you can look at Series 11, you could watch any of those episodes in any order, and it would make complete sense. Maybe you need to watch Episode 1 first, and maybe Episode 10 last, maybe. But apart from that, everything else in the middle, you could watch that in any order and it would make absolutely no difference, because there is nothing linking individual episodes to each other. Which is, I think, yeah, it worked in Classic Who. Yes, it did. But even then, they were stories told over 4, 6, 8, 10, even 12 weeks. So it was a very, very different scenario, and it was a very different time for TV, whereas TV in 2019, in the 21st century basically, is all about having an interconnected story running through a whole series that really interweaves and creates a massive finale right at the end of it. You look at a brand new drama that's just started in Line of Duty, that is going to get massive viewing figures, is going to get massive sort of public excitement. People are going to be tuning in every single Sunday night. It's the same slot, well, not quite the same slot, but it's still Sunday night at 9 PM. And they're going to be tuning in every Sunday because they want to know what happens next. And I feel like that's the sort of show Doctor Who could be if they chose, and that's what they wanted to do with it. Like, yes, it's bold, maybe it's risky, but would it be not a bad idea at some point in the future to just do a one story over 5 or 7 or 10 episodes and just have one interconnected story? Yes, you could still expand it out into different aspects, but turn it into one whole piece of drama like Torture of Children of Earth or Torture of Miracle Day, and do it that way, where it does really mean you have to keep coming back every night, every week, to find out what happens, rather than just Series 11. You could watch Episode 1, you could just turn off for a month, doesn't matter if you see any spoilers, there's nothing important, and then you can just tune it on again and watch again, there's nothing to keep you coming back. So I think that is critical for Series 12, to make it must-watch TV, by just making a reason to tune in every week, because there just wasn't that in Series 11, and that is really, really disappointing. So yes, this has become across as a little bit of a negative video, I feel like, and I don't really like being that negative about the show, because as I say, I didn't hate Series 11. There were some good episodes in there. I really enjoyed Demons of the Punjab, Kablam, It Takes You Away. They were really good episodes, and so was Resolution. I really enjoyed that as well. It just felt the series as a whole was a disappointment compared to what it had been. and also not what I would necessarily wanted Doctor Who to be, I think, fundamentally. Like, I love massive story arcs. I love Series 5 for that very reason, because it's got such a tightly knit, interweaved story arc, and that's why I'd also like the ambition of Series 6, because they went all in on trying to do as much of that as possible, and I really, really like that ambition, that idea, and how everything is sort of joined together and explained towards the end. Like, I love that as an idea across all television drama and everything. And so for Doctor Who to kind of go from a bit of that in Series 10 with Missy and things like that, to then completely forgetting about it in Series 11 and just having 10 individual stories, I think that was the biggest disappointment for me. And then it makes the finale rubbish, because there is nothing big to build up to in a finale. It's just another episode and then the series is over. And it just means that the sort of series isn't as memorable, I think, to a degree as well. It's just, there's not really the rewatch value. I feel like, from Series 11. I haven't watched rewatched any episodes of Series 11 since around the time of them airing. I think I watched most of them once or twice more, but nothing in I haven't watched any episodes of Series 11 in 2019 apart from Resolution. And that says it all, because I just don't have a desire to go and watch them again, because a lot of them just weren't that good, and I'm just not that interested in doing so. Which is a real shame to say, but unfortunately for me it is just true. But I still have faith in Doctor Who. I still have faith in Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. I did enjoy her as the Doctor. I think there's a lot of potential to be had there. And hopefully with a bit more sort of tweaking and tuning, as it were, with the production team are much more bedded in now for a second series. Hopefully the script will improve as well, and they'll choose to use a bit of a story arc, a few more returning characters or monsters or whatever, and suddenly Series 12 could be a massive success. It's really not that far away from being great. It's just not quite hit the threshold yet. It just needs to go that extra mile, and it could be a brilliant series. So let's certainly hope so. But that's just about it from this video, guys. Do let me down in the comments below what you want to see Series 12 avoid in Doctor Who. What do you think that, to be a success, they need to not do for Series 12? Also, do let me know the things you would like to see in Series 12 as well, to make the show even better. But that's it from this video, guys. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again very soon for another one. Goodbye.